Clean at 10. Stand by. .473. Down 1 at 15. Stand by. Down 1. 652. Gun.
Alright, hello everyone. So today I'm going to do an AAR on Chuck Pressburg of Press Check Consulting's No Fail Pistol class that I took on May 28th, 29th, 2022 in Pennsylvania. And I'm telling you the dates here because Chuck is an evolving teacher. He will change things as he feels or sees they need to be changing, and he's not going to get stuck in the past. So maybe in a couple years, while he's still around teaching this stuff, this review will no longer be relevant. But now you know. I took the class in 2022, and this is my experience as it relates to that class when I took it. I think it's really important to get it out there that before the course, I need to be honest with you guys and tell you that I did not want to support Chuck Pressburg. Because of an experience I had with him that he absolutely doesn't remember, but it was at SHOT Show in 2017 or 2018, and I just tried to go up to him and say, hey, what's up? Kind of when I met Matt Landfair and other people of primary and secondary, they were super inviting, super friendly to me, but Chuck just didn't give me the time of day, and he kind of seemed disinterested out there, not paying attention and not super friendly, and that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm one to hold grudges for a bunch of different reasons, but whatever it is, that's just in my nature to hold grudges. And as I try and develop and mature as a person, I like to give people second chances now, and I think it's really important to do that. And I'll circle back to this at the end of the review, but I knew that Chuck had a specific skill set that I was absolutely lacking when it comes to long-range precision handgun shooting. I had done the speed thing pretty well, learned a lot from Jedi, and that'll kind of bring me into my background and different training that I've done in the past. Just a quick synopsis and overview of my progression through shooting. A bunch of years ago, I started out kind of training with Jeff Bluvman of Arm Dynamics. He kind of laid the foundation of my entire training career and path forward. Then I trained with James Yeager of Tactical Response. Then it kind of moved on to Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, who recommended Steve Fisher. Trained with Steve Fisher with Jedi as his AI. Then trained a few times with Jedi, became buddies with Jedi. He really, really helped me develop all the efficiencies as a shooter. But over the past 4 years since training with Jedi in 2018, I had been in school. I had literally shot only 200 rounds of live fire over the past 4 years until this Chuck Pressburg class. And I was thinking, the last thing that was fresh in my mind was going fast, Ricky Bobby speed. Sorry about the dog. But I'm gonna have to make this in one take, and that's because if I didn't do this right here, right now, it wouldn't get done before I start my 6-year training program next week. And I think it's a really important review to get out there about this course. And a lot of the benefits that I took from it, and I'm still processing the course and the lessons. However, getting back to this training and my lack of live fire training, I was really not good about dry fire either over the past 4 years. It just wasn't the top of my priority list. I had really important things that needed to get done with my schooling and my performance in school as it relates to my future career. And so I do not carry a gun for a living. I'm not a cop. I'm not any of that. But it's really important for me to be able to protect myself and my loved ones. So I thought, I would like to have the skill set. I would like to develop the ability to take these precision shots under any type of circumstance, weak hand only, strong hand only, both hands on the gun with a great master grip and perfect conditions, anything. And so I decided I was going to give Chuck a second chance because he had the potential key. He could teach me how to do this stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm really glad that I did. And once again, I'll come back to that. And just to give you a background on this No Fail Pistol class. No Fail Pistol, Chuck also calls it his hostage rescue class because it's really about precision shots at distance and a certain unbelievable degree of maturity and accountability that you must have for all of the different shots that you could potentially be taking in real life. And I would say that the class is designed for high intermediate to really high level pistol shooters who want to eke out those extra couple percentage on their skill sets already. And so I'm looking down at some notes I wrote down to help guide me through this AAR. And speaking of notes in the class, I started off taking notes in his first kind of introduction to the class and safety briefing and medical contingency planning and stuff like that, which is all great. But when we got into the real meat and potatoes of the course, the pace was so fast and there was so much instruction and explanation behind drills and why we're doing things a certain way that if I had tried to take notes throughout that, I would have not been in the moment and I wouldn't have been able to take away as much from the class. So that's kind of where the actual physical note taking ended for me. But I will tell you that in this class, there is a degree of meticulousness when it comes to refacing, repainting, reposting targets after each iteration. And that really shows you exactly where your mess ups are. It teaches you, cements those accountability rules to you that every single shot you take, you are responsible for. There were really, really kind of OCD levels of fixing up your targets after each run. And it was great because it kept everything really, really consistent. And that was also one of the takeaways from the class. And so before I go into the instruction and kind of a little bit of the courses of fire and some lessons, I'm not going to give away everything. In fact, I'm going to try and not talk about the actual details of the class as much as I possibly can, because it's something that I recommend you go and experience for yourself. It is not like any other shooting class I have ever taken. In fact, there were shooting skills and shooting skills developments in the class and improvements. But this class was really a class on mindset, accountability, and maturity. And I think that if you're not prepared to be, if you're not prepared to be injured in your ego sense, then the class isn't for you. If you're willing and able to say, like, you know what, I am not where I want to be from a maturity level as a shooter who carries a gun, then the class is for you. If you really want to learn how to be accountable and understand what the implications and consequences of every single bullet you send down range is, then the class is for you. If you want to have like the time of your life and meet some cool dudes who like guns and go super fast and be joking around the whole time, the class is not for you. That's just what it is, and you should know that before getting into it. So, getting back to this once again, tell you a little bit about the equipment that I used and why I used it. I carry everything from my everyday carry setup, which is this V Development Group Seraph holster with a Glock 17 and an RMR on it. This is the Lone Wolf Timberwolf frame. That's about it. It's got a stock trigger in it, and I use this MSP Pro mag carrier in the appendix position, and then on kind of my other strong side where my Amtac Blades Minuteman usually is carried, I carried this mag carrier that I got from, I don't even know, I think maybe like Frank Proctor's website or something like that. I don't know. It's just a single piece of Kydex, super easy to throw on. And I carried it all on the V Development Group Megan Jord belt, which honestly is meant for a single gun in appendix position in a blade. Didn't think it was going to be able to carry and like hold up the weight of the loaded gun, 2 loaded mags on the belt line, and then extra ammo and loaded mags in my pants pockets. But it did absolutely fine. Also carried around with me in my pocket RMT, the Ratching Medical Tourniquet, as well. And for a couple runs in the class, I shot this Glock 17 with a TLR one as LAS concealment holster, and would occasionally throw this Harry's holster singleton on, which is a fantastic holster too. Big price point difference between these two holsters, but both are super high quality holsters. Anyway, getting back into the instruction of the class and Chuck's teaching style. We started off with a safety briefing, going over the 4 firearms rules. It was really in depth, and every time Chuck had an example for something, he would give a real life example. He brought up Jared Reston's kind of experience a lot and tied it into his own. And then we also spoke a lot about ballistics and understanding what bullets do in different mediums and how they can go through a lot of different, drywall and bodies and different parts of the body if you don't hit the body right. And I will absolutely say that Chuck's knowledge of anatomy and physiology is really absolutely correct. From my background, I know this, and I'm confident in my understanding of this stuff. And he is spot on with what he says with kind of how long it'll take someone to lose blood flow to their brain in certain areas and certain volume down states that you can put them into. And what it means to have a CNS cut at any point, and where it kind of affects the body and affects your utility, and what it means to get hit in a different part of the hand and then have tonic contractions of the other muscles. And kind of he goes into that and explains why that can alter your one-handed shooting and what's going on with the other hand at the same time. But really the instruction focused on the accountability of the shots and, having a level of discipline, of maturity to when you see your sights or your dot starting to get a little nutty and start shaking, to just back up off the trigger and be like, you know what? This shot is really important. I cannot throw it because I could hit someone who doesn't deserve to be hit, and I need to use this bullet to hit the bad guy. And kind of back up and reset and think about it and calm yourself down and represent the gun and do it again. And so that was new for me, because before I was kind of always under the time crunch and like, if I don't get this shot off right now, then I'm gonna get hit or something like that. And the reality is that's absolutely possible. But you don't want to waste the shot, and you don't want to hurt someone who doesn't need to be hurt. That's it. So the first day we started off with two-handed shooting for about half the day. Then the second half of the day we did strong hand only shooting. Then on the second day we started off with weak hand only shooting. And all of these kind of iterations of two-handed shooting, strong hand only, weak hand only, were basically the same drills that we ran in essentially the same order at the same distance. There were no freebies given. You had to perform at every single spot, and you had to learn something about yourself at each distance, and what you could see in your gun and your movement, and fixing your trigger press and prepping to the absolute 99% before the trigger breaks, before you really try and finish that shot so you don't flinch. Chuck talks about having the flinchies. I have the flinchies, and I will put this up against anybody. I have the flinchies worse than anybody in the world. You can ask Jedi, you can ask Fisher. I have a seismic flinch is what they call it. It is a miracle that I haven't shot the ground in front of me. For whatever reason, I am horrified of the recoil. I am scared shitless. When that boom goes off in front of me, my body does everything in its power to try and dip down before it to counteract that. That's just what I've always had. And I will say that with the instruction that Chuck gives, being someone who doesn't shoot frequently, live fire, I was kind of looking for someone to see me shoot something wrong and be like on me about it and be like, you did this, fix it by doing this. And that's not what Chuck did. When I was confused about something, I asked him. For example, there was this one time we were shooting strong hand only at 15 or so yards. And it might have even been 20. And I had one group just in the black of the B8, tight as hell. And then one group kind of at 2 o'clock position, right in the 8 ring of the B8, tight as hell. And I was like, whoa, what the heck is going on? I don't really know what's going on. And I said, Chuck, can you help me figure out what's going on? And he said, well, there are two options. You could be healing or your wobble zone could be there. And then he said, but I can't tell that for you because I wasn't shooting your gun and I wasn't you. Did you see your dot in the black? And I said, yeah. You know what? For the first 2.5 seconds that I presented that gun each time before the wobbles got real bad, I said, yeah, I absolutely saw the dot staying within the black in the wobble zone. And he goes, okay, well, that helps me out. And it sounds like you're healing the gun. So, as you go to finish that trigger press, kind of dipping down like that and pulling that shot up and to the right. And then he said, did you kind of see the shot when it broke off? And I was like, yeah, I think so. But the reality is I probably didn't. I was probably kind of being that scared, and he calls it, some type of like blanking out as the shot goes off and some type of amnesia that happens like right as the shot goes off because you're scared of the big bang and boom. And that was absolutely happening to me. And so the next round of fire, we kind of repeated the same shot strings, the same distance. And I put so much intensity into my focus and making everything deliberate. And I kept every single shot in the black at a high rate of speed one-handed. And I was gassed after that. Like maybe that entire thing took a minute for me, shooting off 20 rounds out of the Glock. I think they were in pairs. And I was literally beat. Like I had felt more fatigued after that than I had after a lot of the past, many years of my life, even doing hard work. And that brings up another point about the class is that there is a degree of intensity that you need to bring in order to perform, to do these harder things consistently. And I just kind of thought that it would become easy and become second nature, and I'd be able to stand at 25 yards and like one hand shoot, a BA, like, oh yeah, this is no problem, bang, 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 okay, easy, I had enough practice. And I don't think it'll ever be that way for me. Maybe it's that way for other people, but when I really need to perform, like I am putting my all into every single meticulous detail of it. All pressures in the gun, grip, crushing the heck out of the grip, locking up my entire body, making sure that I'm prepping that trigger to 99%, everything. And it's fatiguing to do that, mentally and physically. And I think that kind of stresses the gravity of his class as well. And so the student experience on the line was really good. There were some really high level shooters in the class next to me. There was a guy next to me who was just absolutely crushing it, burning it down in all of the drills. A guy couple to the left of me that was doing the same exact thing, just absolutely destroying it. And a lot of these people were shooting incredible guns. Like, the guy next to me had a Chambers Custom. The guy a couple down from me was shooting a staccato, and then his staccato broke and the optic plate broke and got loose, and then the guy next to me let him borrow his regulator, and I was like, whoa, what the heck? This is like the coolest thing ever. I am absolutely jealous. I'm shooting a Glock. I want to borrow your regulator. Anyway, there was cool stuff, really cool people in the class. Everybody in the class was capable, and everybody was trying really hard to learn and improve. With that being said, Chuck did say this class was a journey of self-discovery, and you kind of had to diagnose your own issues. And like I mentioned like briefly before, that wasn't really what I was looking for. I don't have the time on the range to go back and kind of continually diagnose and work these issues out. I'm not a professional in the gun world. I just almost need somebody to tell me what I'm doing wrong so that I can fix it at home in dry fire, or try and do something like that to work on that. But Chuck was absolutely there when I had the pointed questions to ask him. Hey, I saw this on the target, I did this, this was my outcome, what do you think's going on, how do I fix it? And he was there to do that. I didn't tell you that the second part of day 2, we kind of did a combination of, two-handed shooting, one-handed shooting, shooting on the move. A lot of it, or all of it, was on steel. Not big steel targets, small steel targets, and plate racks and stuff like that. And it, that was the fun part of the class. There were a lot of competitions, inter-class competitions that were going on there. I think that something that I'm really proud of is that within these inter-class competitions, the 3 big competitions that I won were absolutely the most relevant to me, and kind of proved that I had learned the things I wanted to learn in the class, and that's why they were important to me. So the first one was a 5-shot string 4-time at 15 yards. And I shot the fastest time while keeping every shot in the black, and the condition was you needed to keep every single shot in the black, off the draw, keep everything in the black at 15 yards. And I won that, and that was important to me because I also got the black belt patch from Jedi. And in Jedi's class, I needed to shoot the A zone from concealment, in less than 2 seconds at 7 yards. And while these drills like kind of seem similar, they're actually very different. There is a much different degree of accountability when it comes to shooting a B8 at 15 yards under speed versus an A zone at 7 yards under speed. Because at 15 yards, natural body position and aiming like that is going to help you a little bit, but it's not going to refine everything for you, and you really need to perfect everything to get those shots in the black at 15 under speed. And that's what I was looking for. I needed to learn how to be precise and accountable in this class. And so that was kind of like the first thing. I was like, oh wow, I am really taking something away from this class that I wanted to take away. The next competition that I had won was, in my opinion, the most important one that we ran at all, because it combined athleticism and movement and accuracy under time. And I won't go into the specifics of it, but there was shooting at 25 yards and in, with running in between, sprinting in between, with mag changes, with changes between 1 and 2, two-handed and strong hand and weak hand only shooting. And you were docked for hits out of the black, things like that. And it was run for time, and there was like a hit factor and an adjusted whatever score for your misses. And I won that too, and that was really, really important to me. I'm like, damn, I'm learning how to do this. I was accountable for my shots. I didn't just run it and game it. I was accountable for my shots at every distance, in every condition. And then the last one that I had won was kind of the Bianchi Cup hard version, strong hand only and weak hand only. And I will tell you that when I go to the range, as infrequently as it was, over the past 4 years, shooting those 200 live fire rounds, there wasn't like a single time that I shot strong hand only or weak hand only, and I don't really do it in dry fire because it's not fun, and I see the dot moving a lot, and it hurts my ego to feel so shitty. But I really put my intensity into this, and I tried my hardest, and I pulled it off. I learned what I needed to learn, and I really got a ton out of this class. So that kind of goes over the class. I know this is kind of all over the place, and it's really hard for me to get this out in one fell swoop. I also lost all my notes from the class. I must have left them in the hotel or something. So now somebody's got some no fail pistol notes in their maid's bag of found things in hotel rooms. But my feedback on the course is that for $600 or $650 or whatever the course costs, if you are a shooter with a high level of emotional intelligence and you are ready to have your ego hurt, but to come out a better shooter and a better person, with improvements in physical capability of shooting these guns, plus additional bonus gains in mindset and the maturity level, then the course is absolutely well worth the money. Find out when it's coming to you, sign up for the course, and take it. It's really, I'm not going to go into the full details of everything that we cover at the end of the class, but like I said before, I would come back to what I spoke about second chances at the beginning of this AAR. And like I said, I didn't want to support Chuck because he was a flat out dick to me, right? But I don't think he knew that he was a dick to me, and he definitely wouldn't remember it now. And if he's watching this video, he's absolutely not going to remember it. And if he's probably going to feel bad about this, and that's not the point. The point is not to make him feel bad for being, not friendly to a kid who was excited to see him as one of the people that he's learned from on the internet, many years ago. But Chuck told us a story, at the end of the class, and he said essentially that he was in a really bad place when he retired from his military career. And, one of his telltale signs was that he carried this big man purse around with him that had like full medical kit in it and like a billion tourniquets and all these different chest seals and absolutely crazy stuff because he couldn't get out of what he had experienced. And then I thought about it and I said, you know what? When I saw him at SHOT Show, he was not present. He wasn't paying attention to me. He wasn't being nice to me, but he had that bag on. He must have been in that bad state. And now it's excusable. Now I understand why he didn't give me the time of day or really, care to speak to me. He was in a bad state, and he comes around and he says it at the end of the class, and he is going to be an ally for anybody who needs help in the future when you take his class. And I'm sure even if you didn't take his class, if you reached out to him and said, hey, I'm having issues, can you help me? From a mental state, he will absolutely be there to do that. And so I gave Chuck a second chance, and it paid off huge dividends for me. I mean, I really have improved in ways that I really wanted to improve in pistol shooting and maturity when it comes to guns and consequences of carrying one and using it in public. And I think more importantly, Chuck will tell you through his stories, and he doesn't say it flat out, but he gave himself a second chance. And, everybody makes mistakes. Him not being friendly to me, that's not a big mistake at all in life. But Chuck really gave himself a second chance, and he lives for helping other people understand the consequences of their actions with a gun, but he also lives for making sure that they are 1,000,000% as capable as they can be to take the shots that they need to continue living, to save the other people, to do whatever they need to do. And I think that is really the key takeaway of the class, is that there is a different level of gravity to the class. It's just it's not a fun, silly shooting class going real fast. It kind of brings you back to reality and grounds you. And for that reason, I would say that this is an absolute 10 out of 10, fantastic class. You should 1,000,000% take it if your mindset is right enough and if you're in the space to take it. And that's really all I have to say about that. Once again, I'm sorry that this was so long-winded and I'm probably missing a bunch of stuff. Feel free to ask me questions. I will answer you honestly. Once again, Chuck has no idea I'm making this video or putting this out there. I know him only from the class, and I would recommend him to the highest possible level going forward. I'm glad he gave himself a second chance, and I'm glad that I gave him a second chance. And it definitely paid off very positively for me and kind of him and all of his future students that he'll have. So take care.